Okay, so our makeup class today. This is Friday, the 2nd, September 2nd. Let's see. I'm going to go over here to the Google Drive real quick. I put some new folders on there for those who missed last Sunday. If you watched the video, you would see it. I talk about it. So let me come over here, grab this, bring this on over. Let me go to the proper setup. I think it was the Blender group class. There we go. All right, and in your drive, the 5-week class, did I put that in there? Let me go to double check where that is. I may not have. I know where I put it. Okay. I put it somewhere I shouldn't have, but that's okay. And if I remember correctly, actually, let me go over here to the Blender 5-week class. And in your folder, I gave you a link to the images, so I'm going to go just grab this link here. Is inside your images folder, if I remember correctly. On the Google Drive, there we go. So there's the images. There we go, right there. It's in this inside your Blender modeling class folder. And what I'll do is I'll drop that link directly into the chat box here just for your convenience. Okay, so I'm going to drop the link right here in the chat. There you go. And you should go directly to this folder. And in the root of the folder, I think I put in displacement maps. I put in there... Oh, what did I put in there? I forget. Oh, large landscape displacements was the second one. And there was a third.
HDRI.
That's right, HDRI. That's it. So HDR displacement and landscape displacement. Those are the 3 new folders. So if you want to, I'm going to go to the, if you go to the displacement map folder, the cobblestone is what we're going to use for today's, review. You can download all the rest. It's Charles calling again. Let me pause the recording. Record. There we go. This is going to be a fun one. We're going to kind of talk about recording some sophisticated detail with photographic imagery. So let me. I'm going to open up my bridge real quick so I can show you what we're going to be working with firsthand. There we go. And let me get bridge on over here. I should have. Bridge takes a long time to kind of behave. It takes a little while to bring in. Let me see if I remember correctly. Displacement maps. There we go. Images. Oh, wrong ones. Let's see. Student work files. And in fact, here, let me go over to my. There we go. Cobblestone images. Okay, so presentation images. Cool. All right, I know where you are. In my third drive, presentations, Blender class images. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Blender class folder, go to my presentations, Blender class folder in texturing 1. And I can go to my favorites, put that link right there if you're working in Bridge, and I can just drag that folder right over here, and now it becomes a shortcut. I don't have to go look for it anymore. And in my images here, so this is what we're going to be rendering. So here's my cobblestone. Here are my images. And I got these images off of textures.com. I've already given you the link for all of that. Welcome, Charles. Charles is here finally.
You're here, yep.
Cool. All right. So just watch for now, Charles, and we'll talk a little bit. We'll have you walk through this later. We downloaded the folder. I put new folders on Google Drive, Charles.
Okay.
For now, just watch me, but I'll just show you real quick where it is. Let me minimize this here. Let me go back to that Google Drive. Okay, so inside your Blender and modeling class folder, I've given you displacement maps, landscape displacement, and HDRI. All right, so those are brand new photos I put in there. You're gonna download those in a few minutes. I'm working in the displacement maps folder, and inside the displacement maps, we're using the cobblestone. If you open that up, you can see the cobblestone images there. And I did download these images once again from textures.com. I gave you those links, so watch the previous videos I've recorded. Let me move this on out of the way, and let's go let's go back to Bridge. So in Bridge, these are the images. This is my color image, and I had to explain this last week because a few people didn't quite understand what these maps are for. So we have people in the class who've been working with 3D but have not really been working with it in depth like most of us have. So just a quick little overview, and I know this is going to help both David and Charles. This is our color map. So this is the actual color stone that was taken with a photographic camera. Notice that the color stone is very, there's no shadow detail. That's usually optimal for a nice color image. The next image to it, is this an ambient occlusion? No, is that ambient occlusion? I think it is. I think that is. Yes, the ambient occlusion texture. So what ambient occlusion is, there are certain algorithms in all 3D programs that's using values, black and white information, to create an effect. And what the ambient occlusion is doing is it's adding more darker shadows in between the individual objects. And all the dark areas that you see here, all the black areas, are the areas that this map is going to add deeper, darker, rich shadow-like values to. The white areas, that means there's no effect at all. It will not affect your color map at all. It's just going to add in these shadow details. Wherever there's darker shadows, those are the only details that's going to be added. It's called an ambient occlusion. The next map, this is our height map. This is what we're going to be working with today. And height maps is usually devoid of a lot of detail. It's using black and white information to elevate the geometry or to reduce the geometry into valleys. So the brighter portions are going to be the peaks of our landscape. The darker areas are going to be the valleys of our landscape. So it's going to use values to displace the geometry. In order for this to be effective, you have to have enough polygons in there, enough geometry in there for it to displace accurately to match your photographic image. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit too. This is of course, our normal mapping. Normal mapping is basically bump mapping on steroids. So let me see. This is a bump map here. Well, actually, is this the bump map or is that the? Let me just double check real quick. This is the roughness map, but basically a bump map would look like this. But in other words, it will create a visual effect of texture. But what a bump map does is working with the lighting in your scene and creating a texture based on the black and white values. The disadvantage of bump mapping is it only works two-dimensionally. So if the light changes directions, the actual surface changes or the texture never shows at all. So if your light's going straight onto your object, like as if we're looking at it right now at the monitor, you'll lose all that texture. If the light goes to an extreme angle, then you get to see the texture. The difference between this and a normal map is as I mentioned, the bump map is providing two-dimensional. The normal map is providing three-dimensional texture, so that no matter where you place your light, that texture shows up. So it's using red, green, and blue colors to determine how light is going to be, how light's going to interpret this on the surface. The disadvantage of this technique is that there is no real texture on the surface. It's fake texture. Bump map and normal mapping is all fake texture. It doesn't exist. So the geometry is never displaced, right? What we want to do today is displace that geometry. All right, so we're going to do some basic texturing techniques in Blender, and we're going to start with a plane. It's a simple plane. So if you would, I'll do it first, and I'm going to let you do it next. Shift A, go to my mesh, and give myself a plane. So everybody get to this point. Now pause the recording. And went into edit mode, right click, then we went to right click, went to subdivide. Your subdivide panel is going to pop up in the bottom left hand corner. So put in 20 cuts, so we get 20 cuts once again, and let me know when you're finished. Done? Okay, cool. Was that Zari and David saying done?
Zari, anyway.
All right. David and Charles, are you there?
Well, I found subdivide, but it doesn't. You go further. How do I choose how many? How to
look in the bottom left hand corner of your screen. You'll see the subdivide options box. Okay, and it'll probably be a small little button-like thing, a long square button with a little triangle on the left-hand side. Click the triangle, and that opens it up. And all of your properties, when you do that, pop up that way.
Okay. All right, I see it, and let's see.
Put in 20 at the top where it says iterations or.
It says number of cuts.
Yeah, number of cuts. So it says 1 now, so put in 20. And right, hit enter on your keyboard. And that's the way all your properties are going to pop up in Blender, Charles. That's something you got to remember.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. Now, what I want everybody to do next is go back into object mode. So tab key, go to object mode. And we're going to add one more little modifier to help even further subdivide this plane, to give myself some nice smooth results. We're going to add a modifier called subdivision surfaces. So on the left-hand side, on the right-hand side, look for your little blue wrench for your modifiers. I'm going to click the little tab for the blue wrench going vertical here, these vertical tabs here, and drop down the modifier, and right down here we got subdivision surfaces. If you click it, you're going to see automatically it starts to subdivide it, and you know that visually because the edges go round, right? And over on your modifier options here, what you want is to put in levels of view of 3. So put in 3 for viewport and 3 for render. And let me know when you're done. All right, so now subdivisions is done. So what I want to do next is I'm going to add a displacement nodes. We're going to accomplish that by going over to our shading tab. So we're going to add some texture to this. We're going to start texturing our plane. So I want to create that cobblestone texture for this entire plane. And if I go to my shading tab, now right now we're in our modeling tab. So if we go over like 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 over, and go to the shading tab, click the shading tab. You get to this point. Is everybody there?
Yes.
Okay, good. Excellent.
What was that again?
Go to the shading tab. Look at my screen. All right. Go to 4 steps over from modeling, and it's shading. Click on it. And stay awake with me here.
I had to go to the bathroom.
You didn't say anything. We can't read minds.
Good thing.
All right, here we go. So I'm gonna click on our plane, and I'm gonna hit the period key again. It'll drop it to it pulls it in very quickly. Or use your Control and Alt key to kind of zoom it in and out, or in your rotate option, your Alt or Option to rotate. All right, we're gonna texture this. So right now we have not applied a surface to it at all. So we're gonna start by applying a simple surface. And if we come right down here on our right hand side of the screen, it's going to be close to the bottom where your blue wrench was. Go all the way to the bottom, and it's the second one from the bottom. It's that red and gray globe. Click on it. That's going to be your texture. This is where all your texture is going to begin. Just like in Lightwave, they have little texture panels. This is your texture panel in Blender. There's nothing there because we have not applied anything to it yet. So if I click on the New button, and just watch me at first, and you guys get to do it next, click on the New button, now we've just applied a texture. Look what we have down here at the bottom. We've got nodes, right? Blender automatically applies your nodes. Now, before I let you guys do it, the last thing you need to do is on the material. I'm gonna rename this. I'm gonna double click the word material, and I'm gonna call it cobblestone. And I want you guys to get to this point. And I'm gonna pause the recording. So
Sorry about that.
so we're gonna bring in a photographic image. So we've got our basically our texturing node, BSDF here. That's basically going to do all the calculations for what you want to do to your object. Your material output is going to become your rendering node. It's going to render out everything that the principal BSDF is calculating. All we want to do is bring in the image now and attach it to the rendering, but to the texturing engine to be rendered over here. Command T, because remember we want the Node Wrangler activated. We did that the first day of class to double check it, edit preferences, and then right there, Node Wrangler, because I had put it up here in the search box earlier, it remembered it. It's already activated, so I don't need to do anything. Node Wrangler, make sure you select this. It's got to be highlighted all the way around it. Once done, Command or Control T, it automatically attaches a texturing node system setup. I'm going to select all these real quick, and then it attaches it to the base color. So I'm going to zoom in close. I'm assuming you guys have got to this point, right? All you do is selecting this principal BSDF and hitting Control T. And let's take a look at what Blender has done. It says, okay, I want to create a texture coordinate right there. Mapping allows you to resize your textures. That's all it's doing. It allows you to resize or rotate them or change the location. So this gives you more flexibility on changing the nature of your textures. And then here's your image right there. Now, I could just attach the image without these two and it would work, but it wouldn't be an efficient workflow. So your efficient workflow is tell Blender you're creating a texture, give yourself the flexibility to resize your texture with the mapping, and then put the damn image right there to connect to the color. So instead of using the color, we're using an image. Now right now we haven't chosen an image yet. So this is how it's done. It's really simple. Now we're going to go get the cobblestone color map, the color image. Click on open. All right. It's going to say, well, where do you want me to go get it? And you know where yours is. Mine on my hard drive is under my third Alienware hard drive. Let me go back. Go to my presentations folder. 0 presentations folder. There it is. There's my Blender and Modeling 2.1 class. And then here are my images right there. There's my cobblestone folder. So yours is probably going to be on your desktop, but mine is here. Double click it, and there's my images. So by default, you may have one of these options. See these options right at the top right hand corner? You may have one of these selected. I like to see the thumbnails of the image, so I go to the thumbnail view, right? And I can even change the size. Let's see, if I drop this down, I can go to like large. Boom, there we go. I can make it bigger, make it easier for me to see. And I want the color image. So that's going to be the first one right there. So if I double click it, boom, there it is. So I want you guys to get to this point. And I'm going to pause recording. So once again, and I've started recording, by the way. I want every stone to be raised up, and I want the crevice to be reduced down to the valleys. So it's going to match exactly what this photographic image is displaying. Okay, so how do we do that? Here we go. This is where it gets fun. We're going to bring in the photographic texture of the height map. All right, I'm gonna go back to bridge, which is what we were originally viewing this with, and I'm going to grab this one right there and drag it in. Now you don't have to rely on bridge to do this. You can rely on Windows Explorer, or if you're in a Mac, Finder, and just drag it on in there. It works the same way. So I'm going to offset. There's bridge there. I'm going to offset it a little bit. In fact, here, let me just reduce it down so we can all see these. There we go, like that. Okay, that makes it easier. And all I'm going to do is take this and drag it and place it right into the texturing panel, and it automatically makes another image texture mode right here. Okay, notice it looks exactly like the one above it, because it is. The only difference is there's a different image inside. Here, if I click on it, look over to your left. It gives you the view of it. If I click on the one above it, it gives you the view of the color map. And once again, the one here, it gives me the view of the displacement map. Get to that point. And I'm going to pause recording. This mapping node is going to help us to, resize things. I'm not going to do that yet. I just want you to be aware of that. So we brought in our displacement image there. If I clicked on it, you can see it right there. It's showing it. So I can take this mapping node to ensure that whatever I do in this mapping node here, it's going to affect both images equally. And a simple thing to do is this. Go to the vector here for your mapping node. You've already dragged it to one image. Let's drag it to another image. I can do multiple images. Put it right into the vector for the displacement texture, just like that. Then that way, as you can see, you've got, this mapping panel is going to control both textures equally. So get to that point and tell me when you're done.
Okay. Okay.
Excellent. All right. Now, keep in mind, we're not going to see anything happen just yet. So be patient. Now, the last thing I'm going to do, what was that?
Does it matter if the lines are going through other stuff?
No, the lines don't affect other stuff. They only affect the node it's connected to. See?
It looks rather sloppy.
Well, it does, but just bear with me. And when you practice this on your own, you can devise ways in which it will be easier for you. I tell you what, let's do this. You're right, David. That looks really sloppy. Let's put this just right above the other texture. How does that sound? How does that look? Okay, so there you go. Now you can see both your textures. And you're absolutely right about that. This is a better way to set it up. Now, the last thing we're going to do is we're going to add in what's called a displacement map node. And that's going to be important. Why? because a displacement map node is going to allow you to decide how high your peaks are going to be and how low your valleys are going to be, how extreme you want to distort this map. So if I hit Shift A, and I'm going from memory here, I think it's under vector, displacement. Click it, and I'm going to put it right next to the image. Okay? And I'm going to get in close. Now keep in mind that the way these nodes work is always like purple to purple or yellow to yellow. Gray nodes can take any color, yellow or purple. But here, we're going to take the color, and color can go to gray because gray can take any color. We're going to take the color image, which is our displacement map. If I click on it, there it is right there. It's visually showing it to me. And take the color and plug it into the height, because we're going to create the height in the texture. And then the last thing you're going to do is take purple to purple. I'm going to bring up my the final material output or the rendering node. Purple to purple, displacement to displacement. Grab it there and grab it there, and when you're done, you're going to get a visual change. Get to that point and let me know when you're done.
All done, but my screen looks a little different than yours. I have the full color image. Yours is more like black and white.
Actually, mine is not black and white. Mine is the full color image. It may be the way it's translating through Zoom or something.
Oh,
So
okay.
I'm seeing color here. For example, if you're looking at the perspective view, that's color. Over here, down on the image view on the left-hand side, that's black and white.
Yeah, it looks grayscale from here when we look at it.
Yeah, I think that's just the way it's being translated through Zoom, but it's not. You have to trust me on this. How you doing, David? Your microphone is muted in case you didn't know that.
I'm still working on
All right, what are you working on? Be specific.
it. Everything's small.
Okay. Okay. Zoom in. Zooming in. Control and Alt allows you to zoom in and out. Okay. You control how things are being placed on your screen.
Okay.
And just Alt allows you to pan. I'm assuming you're watching me on one screen and then you're doing your Blender on your other screen.
Yes.
Good, excellent. So I can zoom in. That's why I'm zooming in and out, because things can get really small. You can get like 5 times the amount of these nodes, and they're going to be tiny on the screen like this, right? But the way you navigate is you zoom in, work with the nodes you want to work with, right? If I hit the period key, it'll pop into whichever node that's selected. Hitting the period key. Hit the home key, it zooms into all of them. Okay? So,
A question about node management.
yeah.
If you minimize the principal BSDF node,
Yeah.
it becomes like a gigantic circle. Is there any way to make it even smaller?
Oh, let's see. If I minimize it, like,
If you click on that little thing on the top left, yeah.
yeah.
Is there any way to make it even smaller than that?
I thought there was. Hold on a minute.
Because that's still pretty big.
If I just put my cursor right here, there, let's see. I think that's the best you can do.
Huh, okay.
I think that's the best we can do. I don't know if I double click, right click. No, there's no, unfortunately, there isn't.
Oh, toggle node sockets. That's the one.
Where are you looking?
First of all, minimize it.
Okay.
Make it into like that circle, and then now right click. Toggle node sockets.
Toggle node sockets. Oh, okay, there it is.
Nice.
Thank you.
Sure.
I like that. And we can bring it out. Oh, now it's back to that, all right?
So
Now
it's
we
only
got
showing you what you're using.
right. It's only showing you what you're using. If I right click, if I say toggle hidden node sockets, and I can bring those back. I wouldn't do that just yet while you're learning Blender, because you're gonna confuse yourself. Keep it full open until you really get used to Blender. Then you can kind of come in here and play around all this stuff.
Yep.
There's something else down here I figured it might be handy for Blender too that I did not share before. Is right down here in the bottom right hand corner of my screen. You'll notice that I'm showing how much memory I'm using, how much of my graphics card resources, and then what version of Blender I'm using, all right down here in the bottom right hand corner. And how you get that to come up is you right click in the bottom right hand corner and you select what you want to show.
Oh, that's cool.
That is cool. And Blender is an amazing program, and it's getting better and better all the time. They're constantly updating. Oh, look at the guy. All right, so shall we move forward? Yes, no, maybe so.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Now, if you turn your plane to an extreme angle, you'll notice that nothing's happening. Something's happening because you can see visually that you got this glossy effect on all of your cobblestones, but they're not being displaced. All right, this is the little gotchas in Blender you got to remember. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to go to our rendering option. Now, over here on the vertical panel where your blue wrench is, go to the very top, right up, almost the second node down, second tab down from the top. It's that picture of a 35mm camera. Click it, right? And you're going to have your rendering options over here. And this is going to be important. Over the very first thing in the rendering nodes is your rendering intent. What you want, EV is by default, but what you want is cycles. Cycles is your top-notch, high-quality render. EV is good and it's getting better every time, but cycles is the ultimate render. Okay. The next thing you're gonna want to have checked here is under the feature set. Make sure you check experimental, and there's a reason why. Okay, we're done. Those are the only two things I want you to set. When you want to start setting your rendering intent, that little symbol of the 35mm camera, those are your render options. Cycles is your ultimate render. Have experimental check. Now, what I want you to do is go back to your blue gear where your modifier is, or your subdivision surface modifier. Okay. The reason you checked experimental is to get this box to show up inside of subdivision surfaces. It's called adaptive subdivision. Zari made a comment about different types of subdivisions. Hey, Michael.
Yeah.
Well, welcome, Michael. You can use your
That's
microphone.
awesome.
Good morning.
Good
Happy
morning.
New Year.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Yeah, it feels like it, doesn't it? So, this box called adaptive subdivision was not there if you do not have your experimental checked, right? So, check adaptive subdivision. What this does is that any geometry that's close to your camera it's actually going to add more subdivisions to, so that it can render all that fine detail. Any geometry that's far away from the camera, it renders less subdivision because it's far away from the camera to conserve your memory. Is that making sense? All right. So make sure that in your rendering mode with the little 35mm camera symbol, you've got cycles and experimental. Make sure they're checked now. If you haven't done so, do it now. And then after you're done with that, go to your blue gear, go to your subdivision surface, and make sure adaptive subdivision is checked. Let me know when it's done.
I've got the adaptive subdivision.
Now go down to your blue gear, your blue wrench.
Yep.
Go to subdivision surface panel.
Yep.
And make sure adaptive subdivision is checked.
I did.
You're good to go. Sit tight. You're there. All right. Now, you still can't see subdivisions. That's because we have to go to another option in your rendering panel or your texture panel. Second down from the bottom, that little red globe, right? Click it. There is your texture panel. In our texture panel, of course, we have our color surfaces, our metallic and specular and all that's roughness, all that stuff, different properties to affect your surface. But what we're interested in is going down toward the bottom for settings. I'm going to drop the arrow on the left-hand side. I'm going to drop it open and open up the settings options. Now, this is going to get you your displacement. Under your settings, and now why is it that Blender Foundation doesn't have this set by default this way? I can only figure it out, but I guess what they're trying to do is save on your graphics card memory at every moment that they can give you. But under your settings, you come right down here to displacement. You see bump only. That's why you're getting this effect. It's only rendering the bump only. Remember, bump is not real displacement. Bump is giving you a visual effect of something happening, but no real displacement is going on. Right? So if I come down for the displacement option, instead of saying bump only, I'm going to do displacement and the bump together and click it. Displacement and bump and click it. All right. Now, why are we not seeing anything happening? Something has happened. And I'll tell you why you're not seeing it happening here. Because we are in the wrong viewing mode now. Now that we have the texture, we used to texturing viewing mode to view our texture, and that's fine. That works just fine. If you want to view the displacement, you have to view it in the render mode, in the actual rendering of the displacement. So instead of the texture option right up here, go to the right, click it, boom, and there it is. It's displaced. All right, you can see it's displaced, but it's hard to see it because we don't have an image. We don't have any light in here. We're going to deal with that next. Okay, so I want you to get to this point for now. And that is now, and I'm going to pause the recording. I'm going to start recording. All right, I'm going to light this scene. Okay, and the way I'm going to do it by changing the background. In other words, I want to create an image-based lit 3D scene with my HDRI image. So it's basically putting in an imaginary giant sphere around my entire 3D scene. It's going to light it with the color and luminances from that HDRI file. Plus, it's going to show the HDRI image as well. To do so, if you notice in my texture, in my shading mode, I have all my textures for my object. How do I know it's for the object? because look up here right above left-hand corner of your node-based area here. It says object. If I drop down the little triangle, we can do world. Right? We can do world. Now, you may not see anything at first because I hit A for select all, and then period on numerical side, and it brought in my nodes up like this. Get to this point. So go to your world option, get out of object. This is object here. Get out of object, go to the world option. That's going to create your, that's going to be your background. And if this is blank here, it's not blank. The nodes are hidden somewhere off the screen here. So hit A on your keyboard, which means select all, and hit the period key, and it'll drop it to full view. Get to this point now, and let me know when you're done. Let me know you have this.
Okay.
Excellent, David. Boy, you're like way ahead today. Good job. How you doing, Zari?
Yep, got it.
I think Michael was here on Sunday, so this is going to be a review for him.
Yeah, I'm just listening and just letting it absorb.
Okay, good. Now, remember the technique? Like, remember Node Wrangler, guys? The technique for bringing in our images? We can do the same thing. This background is your rendering engine. The world output, well, this is your texturing calculation engine. The world output is your rendering engine, just like you do with the texture of your object. But I'm going to select the background, and I'm going to hit Control T, just like before. Do that now. And if we scroll back, FYI, guess what? We got the same type of node setup that we did with our object. Texture node, mapping, and then we've got our image. Right? I'll select that, hit the period key. Select it, hit the period key. It's supposed to jump all the way through, but I'll zoom in. And there's my image mode right there. Nothing's in it. In fact, it's showing purple at the top because there's nothing in it. If I wanted to change the purple to something different, just as an FYI, look over here. At the top is your rendering intent. If you go 1, 2, 3, 4 down, that's your background. Right there. That little picture of the red globe with the little slash through it, that's your background. All right, it's probably not going to show color now because there's your color, because I told it to use an environment texture, which is exactly what this is. So now you got an environment texture connected to it, and we're going to bring in the image here.
You said Control T, right?
Correct.
Nothing happens.
All right, here's the kicker. This is where your listening ability has got to be in check. I told you to select the background first.
Ah.
Control T.
Ah, okay. Ta-da.
Yeah, right. That's another gotcha in Blender. You got to listen to everything. You can't skip anything in Blender.
Right.
Everything. Okay, now let's go get the image. I'll give you a few minutes to download the HDRI images from the Google Drive, but for those who missed last week, but just watch me for now. All you're going to do is this. Open. That's it. I'm going to go get my HDR images. Now my third drive under my presentations, Blender modeling class images, and go to my HDR images there. I see. Which one did we want to choose? I'm going to kind of scroll down here. I think it was this one. I'm going from memory, but I might change my mind. All right, we'll go this one. I like the green grass. And I got the sun back here, and that's important. The sunlight's back here. It's going to be a lower horizon. open the image. Boom. Okay.
How did you open the file viewer again?
Look at the see the image node there, David. I clicked open.
Okay. Duh.
Okay, now your question's telling me that you weren't watching me. I wanted you to watch me first, and then I was going to walk you through it.
Okay.
All right. So all you do is click open, put in the image, and there it is. Everybody get to this point.
Got it.
Good. Excellent. Perfect. All right. Now I'm gonna go forward. Now you're gonna learn the importance of this mapping node. All right. So you want the sunlight to shine from a particular direction. Let's see. I think it's rotate on the Z-axis right there. That's location. I want to go to rotation. I'm gonna pull this up just a little bit. Pull this in right about there. Go to rotation on the Z-axis and rotate my image around. See? It's casting shadows and all. In addition, let's say I want to scale this back a little bit. Let me see what happens under scale. I'll put in 5. Go to Y, I'm gonna put in 5. And go to Z and put in 5. And you notice your background, now we can see more of our background. All right, if I want to zoom it out a little even more so I can see more of the foreground and more of the background, I'll probably go, let's go to 10. So I'll say 10, just doubling is all I'm doing. 10, 10. And now I can see more of the foreground and more of the background in there. So that's the importance of that, of this mapping node. It allows you to transform, resize your textures and everything. So we're just using this background image to kind of light. So I want you to get to this point. And I'll explore it. I'll play with this while you guys are doing it too. I'm going to go, I wouldn't say 10. I'm going to go 30. I'm going to go 30 just to see what it looks like for the fun of it. 30. And we're looking scale 30. There we go. See, now we see more of the foreground. Let's see, where's my sunlight? You know what? I'm not liking the sunlight here. It's not strong enough because it's an overcast day. I'm going to change it, guys. I'm going to come right over to my folder. Open. Let's just choose a different image. Let's do something like, this one's a harsher one right there. That one right there. I'm going to do the HDR. HDR, EXR, it doesn't matter. Open. Boom. Wow. Now we got some sunlight, right? There's the sun right there. Right there. We got some nice strong. And then now we got some nice strong shadows. Look at that. Again, if I want to rotate that, rotation on the Z-axis, I can rotate that sun anywhere I want. Look at that beautiful texture. All right, we're not done. So now I'm going to move on because I think you guys are already at this point. Now we want to control the displacement. This is supposed to be cobblestone that you can walk on like a flat walkway. This looks like volcanic lava because I got the displacement too strong. Really easy. If you come over to what? We got to go back to our object, right? So the background's done. Click on the object. Get out of world mode. Go to object mode. And it brings back all my nodes for my object. Now, if you remember correctly, go to your displacement right there. This is how you control all that. This displacement node. Another place you can do it, and it does the same thing, and this actually connects to that location, is if you come right over here to your texture panel, and instead just go all the way down to displacement. Go all the way to the bottom. There's your displacement option. You can do the same thing there. Height, mid-level, scale, right? Mid-level, scale. The height is the image, and it's telling you right there, the image is textures.com pavement. It's matching the title of that image right there. And then there's your mid-level scale, mid-level scale. I'm going to take the mid-level to 0, because all mid-level is doing is changing the level, right? If I go to 0, let me bring this back. There we go. Oops. Home key. There we go. There they are. All right, gotta bring that in right about there. Okay, so now I'm going to change the height of the effect. Now, if I go to scale, which is basically my height, hold the shift key down, I can tune it, and bring it down, bring it down, bring it down, bring it down to what that cobblestone's supposed to look like, something like that. There. See? And it's displaced. It's actual geometry displaced to match your photograph. So play with that, get to that point. All right. All right, so that, just to kind of back up a little bit, let me select this here. I turned off my background so that I can favor my light source here. So turn the light on and off. Okay, and just FYI, once again, if I go back to my shading mode where I was texturing everything, you got to make sure in your world texture, and then I just simply disconnected it. So if I, with that light turned on, and Zari's question is if that light is turned on, and I'm going to turn it back on. There's my light source. Let me get in close. Yeah, there it is. It's all turned on. There we go. His question is, can you also use the image-based light for the background? So I've got the light turned on. Now we're going to reconnect the image from the background for the world view. Clicking in the color. See, yes, you can. They both are on.
Very nice.
So you may want to kind of make a choice, either or, of what you want to do. If we disconnect it, now we're just using go to the light, and I've got sunlight, right? I can go to point light, which is really low now because my options for sunlight were low, so it's matching them. With the area light turned on, and I come down here with the light option, my power is 30, but I may want to go back up to maybe 2,000, right? So area light. So if you look at the area light, let's go up here. It's already selected. It's way down there. I might want to bring it up a little bit here. So what I'll do is click that little option there, go over here and just select it that way and bring it on up. There we go. Like that. Okay. Select the object, hit the period key to pop it to full view. There. Yeah, I really like that area light, because what it's doing is I can control the size of it. So if I hit the S key on the keyboard, I can control the size and shape, right? So under the options for the area light, I have a rectangle, but I can go to like a disc. And as you can see here, it became a disc. Hit the S key, I can make it bigger, like a bigger disc. And determine just how much surface it's going to cover. Or I can go back to my rectangle, like a softbox in the photographic studio. So I see the area light working very much like a softbox. It's very soft lighting. If I want more intensity, which is going to need compared to sunlight, I've got 3,000. Maybe I'll double it. Well, maybe I'll go 4,000. There. Just so you FYI is there. Spotlight. There you go. It needs a higher power as well. Spotlight's kind of fun because you've got your radius. I think it's this little dot here. Where is that? That arrow. There we go. Right there. You can change the angle. See that? By pulling that arrow. That arrow. A greater coverage to a much more focused coverage. All your choice. Then you got your point light, which is emitting light in 360-degree direction. It acts more like a light bulb compared to the sunlight. Sunlight's really strong. If I go sunlight, it's like boom, washed out. This 4,000 strength is way too much. If I go like a light bulb, point light works. And then I can take that point light and I'm going to kind of hit the G key on my keyboard to attach it to my cursor and move it around. Let's bring it in closer this way. Like that, okay. In fact, here, let's go to my modeling view. There we go. Hit the G key, it attaches to my cursor, and I can kind of move it around like this. What the hell was that? Okay. G key, see? G key is the shortcut for move. If I want to restrict it to the x-axis, I simply hit X, and it'll just restrict it to the x-axis. If I want to restrict it to the y-axis, hit Y while I'm moving it. Or z-axis, hit Z. Then from there, X, whatever you want. That all making sense?
Yep.
Okay, let's see. To render this, we got to go to, it uses our camera just like in Lightwave. Uses your camera to render through. Camera's right over here. If I want to view through my camera on my numeric side of my keyboard, I hit 0. There we go. Once I'm going to make sure the camera is selected, and it is right over here, and I can navigate it around. Now here's the gotcha. If you go to your view option, you have to make sure for lock to local, let's see, it's camera to view, lock to object, camera to view. Check it. Once it's checked, I should be able to, let's say, wait a minute, this is kind of weird. Hit the 0 key. Thank you. Now I can see through my camera view. Okay, lock to view. I think I got a constraint on this camera. I'm going to turn off that constraint there. And now I can move it around. So my shift and my alt key, pan it around, alt and control, zoom in and out. Alt key alone allows me to rotate around. Now if I select the object, now the rotation point location becomes a location of my object, but I can still navigate through the camera. A little fun stuff. Alright, so on the right hand side you have an output option. So it's just below the 35mm camera symbol on the vertical edge right here. Right above your blue wrench. Third one down from the top. And this is where you get to tell it how much the resolution to render. The frame rate is there. What frame to start at, what frame to end at. Okay, so we're just going to render a single frame. We can tell it where to output to. Right there. What to output as. 8-bit, 16-bit, your choice. The color management to use.
And if it's a PNG, then everything that is in the background that's off now would be clear?
That's correct. That's correct. Or I can render as any of these formats. JPEG, Targa, Cineon, Radiance, HDR. There's your AVIs, RAW, MPEG, all those formats. So do a quick little render. It's simple. It's simply F12 on your keyboard. Pops up the rendering panel. Sit back, relax, let it render what it sees inside, and there it is. All done, all rendered. In Lightwave is F9. In Blender is F12. If I want to save this out, now look at the numbers here. It's still rendering. It's got 4080 out of 4096. It's done now. Okay. So what is this? This is 100. How big is it? Oh, a gigabyte in size. How big is this? Really, 1785.25 megabytes. Huh. It's big. Now, if I want to save this, go to Image, Save or Save As. Right? I told it to be a PNG. Save it wherever you want, and that's where it goes. Again, color depth 16-bit or 8-bit. Your choice. And it's fast. Way faster than Lightwave when it renders single frames. And better than Lightwave too. Close out the render panel. And I can render something else. I can just kind of go, let's go this angle here. Or maybe zoom in really close. I want to get really close. All right. Let's get in really close like this. Bring it down a little bit like that. I want to rotate it like that. I want just that little piece right there. And F12. Sit back and relax. Calculating normals, calculating displacement is telling you everything right up here. And something I forgot to do, I'm going to stop it real quick. I forgot to tell it to use, let me go, where it is? I got to remember where it is now. Let's see, if I come over to that, I don't think it's in here. I think it's up here. Oh, or is it maybe, there it is. On your rendering intent, right up here, rendering panel, come down to the sampling and click denoise. Immediately, you can see it right there. It's showing you in a preview that Now notice how the window of the camera is much smaller than the overall space. And let's say, for example, I want this whole camera to fill the overall space. That's when you go back to the view. All right, let me go to my view. I should be, where are my options for view? Items. I want to go to view. Okay. In view, remember the view lock, and we locked camera to view. Uncheck that. Then zoom in like that. See your camera starting to fill your space now, like that, right? Then go back and hit camera to view again, and now you can see a little better what you want. And I did hit the in the rendering intent, I did hit the denoise, so I'll render it again. So F12 on the keyboard. Sit back and relax and watch it render. Depending on the your video card in your system, and depending on other factors, your processor speed is going to determine how quickly it's going to render out. Right now, it's sampling 37 out of 4096. It'll speed up quickly, I assume, but it's going to be a little bit of a slower render because I feel the entire camera frame with texture. So it's going to take
Also, I imagine when you hit something like denoise, that's probably going to up the megabytes too.
Yeah, and now it's moving faster. You can see right there. Now it's going real fast. Now it's 1,000. Now it's going real. Now it's 2,000. Now it's 3,000. There it is. 4,080. There it is. All done. It's pretty fast. And once again, you can like save it out, whatever you want. That's it. Just wait for Sunday for more.
Cool. Thanks, Steve.
You're welcome. Any questions from anybody? None?
The homework was mainly to go into the files you gave us and do another one of these, right?
Yeah, you're supposed to create a scene. You're supposed to.
So a background with an object.
A background with an object and also a displacement object as part of your scene.
Right.
And I gave you the option to create what you wanted. So your background will be there. So it's gonna look like you're trying to actually tell a story in some capacity. And you can bring in maybe some of your old Lightwave models for this homework assignment. Just save your Lightwave models out to FBX, import it into Blender as FBX. It'll accurately import it in exactly the way you created in Lightwave.
Can we float something in like our fire hydrant?
I suppose to, as long as you bring it into a scene in the background where it looks like it belongs into that scene, yeah.
I see.
So like start executing some of your 3D skills. You're doing something for a client. You want it to look right. Because remember that exercise I taught you with taking a flat surface and putting an image on it, and then actually, turning that flat surface into three-dimensional aspects in some areas? You can do that too.
So we don't have to stick to just the images you provide in the folder?
No, use your own. I want you to use your stuff. Any other questions? I don't like that. I don't think I care so much for that roughness map on here. It flattens it out a little too much. But I can change that. But that's for another day. All right. I will stop the recording so I